All right, I think we're ready to kick things off. First of all, hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. So today we are going to be answering a question that's probably top of mind for most professionals in the creator marketing space. And that is, what does a great creator strategy look like? So if you're familiar with our content, you know we publish plenty of guides and blog posts on industry best practices. But today we really want to be able to provide some more specific insight and hopefully some inspiration as well on key strategies for two categories in particular that are just really leading the charge with regard to best-in-class creator-led campaigns. And so those are media and agency. And so in order to do that, we are going to walk through some key takeaways from our recent From Good to Great report, which really spotlights industry leaders in both of those spaces. Now, before we dive in, let's just take a quick moment to introduce ourselves. So I'm Kat Kulke. I am a senior content marketing manager here at CreatorIQ.
I'll let you take it, Danielle.
Okay, yeah. I am Danielle Wiley. I am the founder and CEO of Sway Group, and we are an influencer marketing agency. We've been around for almost 12 years now.
Awesome. And my name is Arika Vissers. I am the team lead of customer success on the East Coast here at CreatorIQ. And I've been working with brands and agencies for the last about 2 years now, and helping them translate their creator marketing strategies into the CreatorIQ platform.
Thank you. I do just want to say that I am so thrilled to have both Arika and Danielle here with us today. So Sway Group is just doing some truly exemplary work in the creator marketing space, and they are a major feature in our recent report. I also wanted to provide a little bit of background about CreatorIQ. So for those who aren't familiar with us, CreatorIQ is an end-to-end creator intelligence platform that helps businesses grow, manage, measure, and maximize the impact of their creator marketing programs. And then I also want to turn it over to Danielle to share a little bit more about Sway Group.
Yeah, so like I said, we are an influencer marketing agency, and the work that we do is powered by CreatorIQ. So we started in 2011 with just 25 bloggers at the time. We now have over 30,000 creators in our network, and they are all authenticated through the CreatorIQ system, which makes doing our work so much more effective and easier. We get so much amazing first-party data about all of the creators in our network through CreatorIQ.
Awesome. That's so great to hear. So to sort of set the scene for today's presentation, I really wanted to kick it off by underscoring the increasingly integral role that creators are playing in a brand's growth today. So according to Forbes, the global creator economy is valued at an estimated $100 billion. And it's becoming more and more clear that influencer marketing is really the #1 investment that brands can make in their overall marketing strategies.
And based on the last year, we've seen that both brands and agencies have increased their influencer marketing spend. And a lot of that is due to the creator's power over the consumer decisions that are being made. Brands have increased their spend by 67%, and agencies even higher at about 83%.
Awesome. So, right, while the creator economy is fueling growth for businesses across categories, we did mention that there are two key categories that are just really leading the charge with regard to creativity and innovation. And so one, of course, is agencies. And I think especially, right, these specialized agencies like Sway Group. And we'll speak to that a little bit more later in the presentation. But we are also seeing that media and entertainment brands are taking a particularly sophisticated approach by building out these really robust partner programs and leveraging super timely campaigns in order to cultivate these deeply, deeply passionate fan bases. So let's take a look at a few examples of truly standout creator marketing from one particularly high growth category within media and entertainment. And that, of course, is video streaming. So we're going to start out with one of the most recognizable names in streaming, and that, of course, is Netflix. Now, Netflix is actually a little bit unique in this space, given just how widely the company features in totally unsponsored conversation among creators. So hit series like Bridgerton, like Stranger Things, have really prompted just these surges of totally organic content. And that could range from memes to themed makeup looks. So to give you a clearer sense of just the sheer scale that we're talking about here, the hashtag Stranger Things was used in 3.4K pieces of content from 1.2K creators from Q1 to Q3 of 2022. And so, as we mentioned, right, the vast majority of this conversation about Netflix is organic, but the company also certainly does not shy away from paid campaigns. So if you think about it, right, these big hits like Stranger Things might market themselves, but Netflix also sort of strategically uses these sponsored partnerships to promote titles that are a little bit lesser known. So one example of this is, in order to sort of drive awareness and enthusiasm around a thriller called The Gray Man, Netflix actually sent a TikTok star, Kelly Killjoy, a box of personalized swag that, was themed based on the series, but was also really personalized to her. And so she then subsequently shared that in a sponsored unboxing video. And thanks to really this combination of both paid and organic activity, Netflix actually boasted the largest creator community as well as the largest content volume of any of the streaming services that we'll talk about today, with 28,000 creators mentioning the brand in 172,000 posts during the first 3 quarters of 2022. So now sort of another leader in this space, Amazon's streaming service, Prime Video, has taken a slightly different approach, and I think they really stand out for their lighthearted approach to creator marketing. So they have these ongoing partnerships with major humor accounts. We're talking F Jerry, Overheard LA, and each of these creators really bring their own unique brand of comedy to hyping new Prime Video releases. So rather than sharing sort of overtly advertorial, kind of scripted promotional content, these partners will riff on Prime Video shows in offbeat memes and short form videos. And by aligning itself with really some of the biggest names in online humor, and even more importantly, by really letting these creators take the lead on content format and messaging, Prime Video has achieved really significant growth across key metrics, including share of voice and reach. And so these figures actually increased by 36% for share of voice and 12% for reach year over year. And that was again during the first 3 quarters of 2022. So now the third and final streaming service we wanted to spotlight in today's session is Peacock. So this is, of course, NBC Universal streaming service. Peacock actually launched in 2020, but since then has made really significant strides on social media thanks to its rapidly growing community of official partners. So in mid-2021, Peacock began assembling its Peacock Partner Network. And this is a cohort of long-term official ambassadors. And I think that long-term component is what's really important here. So, of course, in addition to promoting Peacock's coverage of major events like the Super Bowl, these partners routinely and really consistently mention various shows in their content. And this results in a steady, reliable stream of activity around Peacock. It's also worth noting that the Peacock Partner Program has significantly expanded since its debut. So from Q1 to Q3 of 2022, the hashtag Peacock Partner was used in 173 posts from 63 creators. And that's compared to 13 posts and just 8 creators back in 2021. So this change played a key role in Peacock's 68% year-over-year growth in overall community size, as well as its 76% year-over-year growth in reach. And now I'll turn it over to Arika to talk a little bit about agencies.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some of those examples of great creator marketing and media, but super exciting to take a look at what this looks like for agencies. So I do want to just take a minute and speak to how important it is that a lot of these campaigns that we see on the brand side are actually orchestrated behind the scenes by agencies. We can't stress enough how much the influencer marketing is a full-time job and is specialized for agencies. And because of the focus that the skills have, that they're able to execute cutting edge and impactful work, both in and outside the media space. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Danielle, and she's going to walk us through how Sway Group approaches creator marketing and offer an inside look at some of the recent campaigns.
Thank you. So I figured the best way to do this was to show an example of a program that we recently completed, and there's a lot more information about this particular campaign in the report that our friends at CreatorIQ just put out. But it is for what might be a surprising product. So we were tasked by Evercare to help them promote their lint rollers on TikTok. And you might hear lint roller and not instantly think that you're going to end up with a super fun TikTok campaign. But we can start here by showing you 2 examples of the content that we were able to generate for them. And I think you'll see that even what might seem like the most boring product can actually generate some really fun content. Do you have those on the next?
Yeah, hang on just one second.
Okay.
My life be like, ooh, yeah. Ooh, my life be like, ooh, yeah. Ooh. Times like these that make me say, Lord, if you see that these come my way, like even bread comes for when I stray. Well, I'm sacrificing the Christ holiday, like living like a fairy tale. Sometimes I fall, I slip.
So I think the key with both of these is that we took advantage of we kind of let the creators lead, which we've all been talking about this whole time, and had them figure out their own way to incorporate the product into the type of content that they typically create on their own anyway. So Black Suit Blonde, the first one that we saw, they frequently show their outfits and how they get ready and like putting it all together. So it just made a ton of sense. And then the second one you saw, they're always showing their fun dance routines and dance moves. So we were able to just let them know what Evercare was trying to promote. In this case, removing pet hair is huge for them. And that key attribute of the product fit in really, really well with what they do organically. And both of these TikToks performed super well. And did I totally jump ahead? Do you have to go back now? I like went off. I went
no, it was great. Thank you so much for walking us through those examples. They're so fun. All right. Now we're back at the beginning.
Okay, yeah. So it's always fun. I went rogue because it's always fun to kind of show that content up front. So you can go to the next one. So what we did, I mean, like I said, we have over 30,000 creators. CreatorIQ makes it really, really easy to kind of match make with what brands we're working with and figure out the right folks to work with and make sure that not only do we know, we can pretty easily identify if they're going to be able to create amazing content, but what CreatorIQ is great for, and what's really important too, is just understanding those metrics, that first party data. So does the demographic match with who, in this case, Evercare is trying to reach? Do they have enough followers? Are we going to be able to meet the metrics that we've guaranteed to the client? Because we put guarantees in our program. So I think in this case, it was engagements, and we wanted to make sure that not only were we going to get amazing content, but were the people that we were using going to be able to help us meet those numbers behind the scene. So this is just by the numbers, the results that we got. We got nearly 2 million impressions with over 551,000 views. 18,000 engagements. And then we had actually done a similar program with Evercare previously that I think was on Instagram. And this one, we actually were able to use those metrics and data and generate a 19% lower CPM comparable to work that we had done previously. So we're always, like any marketing agency, always want to improve and get better. And this was a great example of that.
Already been here.
Such a good song. We had to hear it again. So just wanted to get into some of the nuts and bolts. We do a lot of speaking engagements about TikTok, and we get a lot of questions about how to do TikTok because it's just so much different than other platforms have been previously. And just because you've had successful Instagram campaigns in the past, you can't take all of that knowledge and know-how and just translate it to TikTok and do the same thing on TikTok that you might have done on Instagram. It doesn't really work that way. So one of the questions that we get quite frequently is about negotiating rates, because TikTok creators grow really, really fast, and brands can sometimes be kind of surprised by how much folks want to charge. Obviously, the type of creator and what tier that creator is in. Are they micro? Are they macro? Are they in the millions of followers? That's going to impact what the rate is. That you can't really control. If you need to use someone of a certain size or someone within a particular niche, that's who you have to use. But there are these next two factors, usage and exclusivity. We find that brands do have a little bit more control over those, and that can help when you're negotiating rates. So for usage, you might not need to use that content for an extended period of time. Back when we first started doing programs on Instagram, the standard was always to be able to use that content. Well, it used to be in perpetuity. That went away. Then it was for a year. Now we're seeing those time frames shortened up considerably. So I think figure out ahead of time what you absolutely need from a usage perspective. Maybe go in asking for a little bit more than you need, just so you have something to negotiate on. But if you're willing to negotiate on that, that can help save you a lot of money. The other factor that tends to drive up cost is exclusivity. Brands can often struggle with letting go of exclusivity. It's kind of been a standard, especially when you're dealing with maybe a more conservative legal team. They want all the exclusivity. They want it to extend for a long period of time. They do not want a creator talking about a competitor, within, let's say, 6 months of content going live. That costs a ton of money on TikTok. So as flexible as you can be with that exclusivity, that can be super helpful. Something we often do on TikTok as well, instead of doing it for like 30 days, let's say, just set a buffer. So say for 6 videos before and 6 videos after, there won't be any competitive content. So doing it by pieces of content rather by length of time can also help save some money when you're negotiating. And then, as I referred to earlier, a lot of TikTok creators do have management now, or they suddenly get management out of nowhere and their rates skyrocket. I think do I have another slide on specifically dealing with yeah. So working with managers is a whole different beast. It's a lot different than working directly with the creator. Their goal is to make as much money as possible for their client. So it's good to go into those conversations prepared. We suggest including as many details as possible about the engagement in your initial communication, so that there's nothing. If you have to add any little factor after the fact, a manager is going to seize on that to ask for more money. So lay it all on the line. Explain everything that you need so that there are no surprises and you're not getting kind of sucker punched with an ask for more money. Be super realistic. If you have a set budget and you can't spend any more than that, be really open about that to speed the negotiation. And then, as referenced earlier, definitely be prepared to negotiate usage and exclusivity. I always reference the fact that I love watching American Pickers and Pawn Stars. And if you also watch those shows, you know that if you are the one who is buying, you want to start low so that you have a little bit of room to go up. So, if you, from a usage and exclusivity standpoint, you want to do the opposite. You want to ask for more than what you need so that you have the ability to dial that back and get the cost down a bit. And then finally, as you saw with those examples, for all of our programs, we do like to give TikTok creators just the freedom to be creative, to do what they do best. They know their audience, they know the type of content that they create. You don't want to micromanage that. You don't want to give them a script and really over brief them. That said, we do give them briefs. There's a lot of information that you need to make sure it gets shared. This is an example. This is like a generic example brief. You can see that we include content deliverables, what we're expecting, due dates, especially when you're working with TikTok creators who are younger. I have a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old, and I know that due dates and deadlines can often be fuzzy with them. TikTok creators are the same, young people are young people. You want to make sure you're really clear about what the dates are. Caption requirements are super important, especially with FTC disclosures, and you want to make sure that the brand name is spelled correctly, tagged correctly. We lay out what all the links are. You go to the next one. We reiterate what the exclusivity is, provide product information. We share the client goals. Ultimately, at the end of the day, creators are marketers. They want to make sure that the end client is happy with what they've done. So it's really important to let them know what the client's hoping to get out of this campaign. And then we lay out all of the just instructions of what we want them to do. We typically have creators share a storyboard with us in advance so that we can give them feedback on that before they've gone through all the actual work of creating a video. We give them inspiration on what they can do, but we don't tell them what to do. We just give some like jumping off point ideas. And then you can go to the final one. We might have a mandatory call to action, like click here to purchase or click here to find a store. We share a few talking points. We typically let them pick one or two, and then we again go over any must-haves, make sure they know that they need to use royalty-free music, that sort of thing.
Thank you so much for sharing all that, Danielle. It is super helpful, and I know probably everyone on this call has experienced this in some sort of way. I did want to leave everyone before we jump into question and answer. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to leave them in the Q&A button down below. We're going to jump into those shortly, but did want to leave everyone with some takeaways that they can start to implement right after this call, which will be helpful. So the first is going to be selecting creators that meet your target audience or have an engaging target audience. I know a lot of times we'll see creators that have a really great aesthetic or content style that might match the brand, but it is worth going in and looking at their performance and audience demographics as well, just to make sure they are the right fit and are going to get the performance that you're hoping to get when it comes to running campaigns. The second is going to be making smart decisions about picking the different social platforms. I think we just saw that in some of these examples with choosing TikTok and those creators to really promote the best content available. Across all the different social platforms, there are going to be different content styles, user profiles, as well as creator demographics. So it is important to pick the right social platform for the campaign that you are going to be running. And then lastly, take an always-on approach when you are monitoring your campaigns. You don't have to wait until the end of a campaign to check their performance or see how it's performed. Feel free to jump in whenever to just make sure it's meeting your KPIs and getting to where it needs to be. So lots of different takeaways, things that you can start to implement right now, but we are going to transition it over to Q&A. Again, feel free to drop any questions that you have for everyone in the Q&A button, and we will jump into that.
Awesome. So to kick off Q&A, I do have one question for Danielle. So you talked about the importance of inviting creators to share content that's specifically for TikTok rather than using the same content across platforms. What are a few factors that make content feel TikTok specific?
I don't know if it's factors per se. What we do see is that there is a very specific skill set when it comes to creating short form video. So you want to make sure that you're working with creators who have that expertise and are able to create a video that's going to resonate, and that they have a proven track record of creating videos that do resonate. I think the big thing for us in terms of going cross-platform, and you can easily see this looking at the demographics in CreatorIQ, is that oftentimes the following for a creator on one platform versus the other is very different. So we often have clients who will come to us and want to save money by hiring someone to create content on Instagram and then asking them to cross-post it onto TikTok, which doesn't often make a lot of sense. And while it might save a little bit money in the upfront, you're actually not getting what's expected from an ROI perspective. So it's not the super strategic way to go.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. This one I believe is for you and I, Arika. You mentioned a partner program as a key driver of success for Peacock. Do you have any recommendations for how to get started building a similar program and which creators to prioritize? So I think that sort of my take on this is that when you are identifying a creator that you want to enter into a long-term partnership with, it's really important to sort of look at their historical performance. And so first of all, right, is this someone who has expressed sort of a genuine affinity for you? Like, have they historically, maybe posted about you in an organic capacity? And then I think additionally, right, to really make sure that you have insight into their performance across key metrics. So like, engagement rate, as Danielle talked about, like, are they someone who has historically done a really good job at engaging their audience? You might also want to look at, the demographics of their audience. Like, does that align with your target audience? And so I think, right, like that combination of sort of a pre-existing genuine affinity and really strong performance across key metrics are certainly factors that you would want to examine when selecting a creator for, a long-term partnership similar to those that Peacock has.
And I'll add a little bit to that as well. And I think, Danielle, you mentioned this in some of your examples, but really that partnership is a key word here, as the creators do like to start a partnership with the brands and agencies that they are working with, and allowing them to build content that is natural for them and that they do have some control over is important when it comes to these partnerships. So just keeping that in mind is definitely going to be something that's helpful when building those out and starting up your own programs.
Yeah. This is another one for Danielle. What are your recommendations for getting the most out of influencer programs when your client has a small budget?
I think it kind of comes down to what your KPIs are and what you're trying to accomplish. So I think it's starting with that. If the goal is getting engagements, whether it's clicks or likes or shares, we find it typically works better to go with a larger number of smaller size creators because they will have higher engagements. And you can, if someone's newer to a platform, especially TikTok, you can sometimes kind of get in with them before their prices skyrocket, and they tend to have higher engagement rates. On the other hand, if the KPI that you're trying to accomplish is reach or impressions, you can sometimes get more bang for your buck going with one larger person, and then just taking advantage of the reach that they have. But just keep in mind that the engagement will be lower. The larger the creator, the lower the engagement rate typically.
Yeah, I think that all makes a lot of sense. This is, I think, also sort of for Danielle. How do you balance building authentic and entertaining content with the inclusion of key messages? Danielle mentioned having the selected influencers include 1 to 2 of the key messages, but what if a brand has a lot of info that needs to be included?
Yeah, if you have a ton of key messages and they are all vital, TikTok might not be the best platform for you. I think there are other platforms that lend themselves to more of heavy-handed. Sounds negative, and I don't mean it that way, because we've all worked with brands where there's just a lot that you have to share. Actually, like regulated brands are a great example of this. So like alcohol, pharmaceutical, financial, you can't just kind of skip over some of the key points. You're legally required to share a lot. TikTok can be a little bit trickier with that, and they actually have, for the regulated industries, have a lot of terms and conditions where you can't just put branded content up there for those industries. But I think look at that list of key messages, see if there are any that you can remove. Consider working with a number of different influencers and maybe spreading out those key messages across them. I mean, that's obviously the easiest thing to do, is to just let go of having to have all of those included. Or, as I said, consider going with another platform. Something like an Instagram will lend itself more to being a little bit more heavy-handed with what you want to share out.
Great, thank you. This is one that I think I can speak to, but Arika and Danielle feel free to add anything as well. What strategies can a company take in 2023 for their TikTok account to increase followers, likes, and or sales? So I think that one thing that we've seen that, is I think really sort of like the main priority, right, when trying to leverage creator marketing on TikTok, is that authenticity is currency. I think that the just sort of authenticity and like room, for creators to just sort of really express themselves in unique and genuine ways is, one reason TikTok has become so wildly popular. And I think that right then when you are sort of entering that space as a brand, it is really, I think, key that you give creators the room to, continue to express themselves. I think that, right, it is, of course, important to communicate your expectations for creators up front, but also to ensure that they do have, creative agency and they're not sort of, held back by a sort of tight script or, too many guidelines. And then I think additionally, sort of right as, Danielle mentioned, making sure that that content is sort of really feels really TikTok specific, that you are leveraging sound, that it's fun, it's engaging. It doesn't feel too much like a polished ad. I think, right, embracing that sort of like lo-fi style of TikTok content will sort of make sure that, any content that is branded sort of blends in and doesn't like stand out or sort of like jar viewers, because it feels like a departure from what TikTok content is sort of meant to be. And then I think additionally, right, we see these sort of big trends emerge on TikTok, and by staying plugged into these trends that are organically happening in the space, and responding and participating as a brand, it sort of shows that you are, right, like familiar with that landscape and you want to participate in the conversations that are already happening.
I think the other thing I'd add is if you're talking about like the TikTok account for the brand itself, working with creators obviously is key because you can share out that amazing content. But I think that one of the key things is really understanding that you are part of a community and that there's a give and take. And part of having your own account is sharing out entertaining content. There's a huge amount of content required for kind of just playing the game. So being prepared for that investment. And then I was talking with someone last week and we were saying it's probably way too aspirational, but to aim to have 80% entertaining content that you're just putting out there in the world, and then you get the privilege of sharing out 20% that's promotional of things you want to promote about the brand, whether it's a sale or a new product, or if you're B2B, like a new article that you have out there. So really just understanding that you're part of this community and that there is a give and take, and you can't just be promotional all the time without providing some kind of entertainment or content that's useful to your followers.
Awesome. Okay, one final one for Danielle. How do you decide on the level of paid media boosting to accompany your organic influencer posts on TikTok?
It is super varied. So it can run from 5 to 10% to actually 100%. So like I was mentioning those regulated industries. So like take over-the-counter medication, for example, you can do paid ads on TikTok for that, but you can't do organic content. So what we'll do for that kind of product is hire creators to create the videos, but then run them just as ads and not have them post them themselves, just so we can make sure that we are staying within the rules of TikTok and not get anyone fined or banned or anything like that. But usually what we do is we just look to see what the KPIs are that we've guaranteed, how many impressions, how many clicks. Certainly we use the data that we have to try to come up with that right mix organically. But then we're looking at benchmarks from past campaigns, just understanding what we need to do on the back end. And we're constantly taking our paid spend up and down. And I mean, we're looking at it multiple times a day just to make sure that we're hitting the numbers that we have to hit. So there's no one set level. It's super varied and it's changing all the time. So it's not super helpful, but you have to kind of keep your eye on it constantly.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. But yeah, just truly thank you everyone for joining us. If you do have any additional questions or just want to say hi, please reach out to hello@creatoriq.com. And for more information about the content that we shared in today's webinar, be sure to download our full report From Good to Great, How Brands Unlock Next Level Results with Creator-Led Marketing, and that lives on our website. So yeah, thank you everyone, and hope to see you at the next one.